Long before the rise of human civilizations, Earth was ruled by creatures so massive and majestic that they continue to captivate our imagination today. Dinosaurs, those awe-inspiring reptiles of the Mesozoic Era, dominated the planet for over 160 million years, evolving into a stunning array of shapes, sizes, and behaviors. Among them, a select few reached truly gargantuan proportions, becoming the largest land animals to ever walk the Earth. These prehistoric giants were not just big. They were biological marvels, pushing the limits of anatomy, physiology, and evolution. The story of the largest dinosaurs is one of scale so extreme it defies belief. Picture a creature longer than a blue whale, taller than a giraffe stacked atop an elephant, and heavier than a dozen rhinos combined. These were the sauropods, long-necked, plant-eating behemoths, whose fossilized bones hint at a world where size was a survival strategy. Their immense bulk allowed them to reach treetop foliage, deter predators, and regulate body temperature in ways scientists are still trying to understand. And yet, despite their size, many of these giants were surprisingly graceful, moving in herds across vast floodplains and leaving behind footprints that now fossilize our understanding of their lives. What makes these creatures even more fascinating is how little we still know. Every year, paleontologists uncover new fossils that challenge previous assumptions. A single vertebra or femur can rewrite the record books, suggesting even larger species may have existed. Advances in technology, like 3D modeling, isotope analysis, and biomechanical simulations, are helping scientists reconstruct how these animals moved, ate, and interacted with their environments. And with each discovery, our picture of prehistoric life becomes richer and more complex. In this documentary, we will look at 5 sauropod species that reached the greatest known sizes. We'll explore their anatomy, habitats, behaviors, and the scientific debates surrounding their true size. From the dusty plains of Patagonia to the deserts of Mongolia, we'll follow the fossil trail that leads to some of the most extraordinary creatures to ever live. In the southern lands of what is now Argentina, the remains of one of the most extraordinary dinosaurs ever discovered were uncovered. This was a giant among giants, a member of the long-necked sauropods that defined the peak of dinosaur size. Today, it is recognized as Patagotitan Mayorum, a creature that stands as one of the largest animals ever to walk on land. It was one of the largest and most complete titanosaurs ever discovered, offering unparalleled insight into the biology, ecology, and evolutionary history of giant sauropods. This early Cretaceous herbivore roamed the floodplains of Patagonia over 100 million years ago and has become a benchmark for understanding dinosaur gigantism. Patagotitan Mayorum belongs to the clade Titanosauria, a group of sauropod dinosaurs known for their massive size and global distribution. It is part of the subgroup Loncosauria, which includes other giants like Argentinosaurus and Puertasaurus. The fossils date back to the mid-Cretaceous period, around 100 million years ago. At that time, Patagonia was a landscape of river valleys, floodplains, and forests, with a warm climate and abundant vegetation. It was the perfect environment for a herbivore of immense scale. From the bones preserved in rock, a picture of this animal's size has slowly taken shape. Patagotitan stretched an estimated 37 meters in length, making it longer than many modern aircraft. It stood about 8.5 meters tall at the head, giving it a towering profile even among dinosaurs. The weight estimates range between 60 and 70 tons. A single adult weighs as much as 12 African elephants combined. No other land animal comes close to matching such numbers. These measurements place Patagotitan among the heaviest terrestrial vertebrates in Earth's history, and made it one of the largest known dinosaurs because its fossil remains were exceptionally complete, allowing for more accurate size estimates. Standing beside it, even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex would have seemed almost modest. Its long neck stretched skyward to strip leaves from the tallest conifers, while its tail swept behind like a living whip. Carrying such a weight required special adaptations. The skeleton of Patagotitan was not built with solid, heavy bones. Instead, many of its bones contained air spaces, reducing weight while still providing strength. This internal structure allowed the animal to support an enormous frame without collapsing under its own mass. The limb bones were thick and shaped like columns, designed to hold steady against the pressure of tens of tons. The hips and shoulders were reinforced, serving as anchor points for the huge body. Its long neck, made up of elongated vertebrae, could extend across wide feeding areas without forcing the body to move constantly. Efficiency, not speed, was the key to its survival. An adult Patagotitan had little to fear from predators. Carnivorous dinosaurs lived alongside it, including large Carcharodontosaurids. But these hunters would have struggled to bring down a creature of such size. The energy required to attack a full-grown Patagotitan would have outweighed the reward. For this reason, predators most likely focused on the young, which began life at a fraction of the size of their parents. Eggs laid in nests would have hatched into small, vulnerable hatchlings, and only a few of these would survive long enough to reach maturity. The physical presence of adult Patagotitan had measurable effects on their environment. Herds moving across floodplains would have created trails and cleared vegetation over wide areas. Their feeding activity concentrated on specific tree species, affecting forest composition and density. Other herbivores in the same ecosystem likely adjusted their feeding patterns to avoid direct competition with these giants. The sheer mass of multiple individuals in an area meant that plant communities were constantly being reshaped by their foraging behavior. Life for Patagotitan was built around one constant task: eating. As a herbivore, it needed enormous amounts of plant material to sustain itself. Its teeth were small and shaped for stripping leaves rather than chewing them. Food was swallowed quickly, with digestion taking place in the vast chambers of its stomach and gut. Here, plant fibers were broken down, releasing the energy needed to fuel such a massive body. Estimates suggest that a single adult may have consumed hundreds of kilograms of vegetation every day. By doing so, these dinosaurs shaped their ecosystems, creating clearings in forests and influencing the growth patterns of plants. The lifespan of such giants is difficult to determine with precision. However, studies of sauropod growth patterns suggest that they could live for several decades, perhaps even up to a century. Growth was rapid in the early years, as juveniles needed to escape the vulnerable size range as quickly as possible. Once they reached adulthood, growth slowed, but their large bodies offered protection and stability. This combination of fast growth and long life was key to their success as a lineage. The discovery of Patagotitan has been one of the most important in paleontology. In 2010, A ranch worker in the Chubut province noticed a large bone sticking out of the ground. Excavations over the following years revealed the remains of at least 6 individuals, providing a detailed view of this species. The fossils included massive limb bones and vertebrae, giving scientists a clearer picture of sauropod anatomy than most other discoveries allow. These remains have helped define the upper limits of dinosaur size with greater confidence. What makes Patagotitan so scientifically important is not just its size, but its completeness. Many giant sauropods are known only from a handful of bones. Patagotitan, however, is represented by about 70% of its skeleton, giving paleontologists an unprecedented look at the anatomy of a true giant. When compared to other giants of its group, Patagotitan shows important details that set it apart. Its skeleton was lighter relative to size than some other sauropods, thanks to the presence of extensive air sacs within the bones. This design not only reduced weight, but also linked to its respiratory system, creating a highly efficient system for breathing. Air flowed through the lungs and sacs in a one-way direction, supplying oxygen more effectively than the lungs of mammals. Such efficiency was essential for supporting the oxygen demands of an animal that weighed tens of tons. Yet even such giants were not invincible. Environmental changes, fluctuations in climate, and competition for resources all posed challenges. Laying eggs in nests left the next generation vulnerable, and many would not survive. Natural disasters such as floods or droughts may also have taken their toll. Despite these risks, Patagotitan endured long enough to leave behind a fossil legacy that shows just how far evolution could push the limits of life on land. In the end, Patagotitan is not just a dinosaur. It's a symbol of Earth's deep past, a testament to the mysteries still waiting beneath our feet, and a humbling reminder that we share this planet with a legacy of giants. If you were to travel back 95 million years to the plains of what is now Argentina, you might have seen something so immense it would make even the tallest giraffe look like a house pet. This was Argentinosaurus, a titanosaur so colossal that it has become a symbol of prehistoric grandeur and one of the largest land animals ever to exist. It was not only one of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, but also one of the heaviest creatures to have ever walked the Earth. The world it inhabited around 95 million years ago was very different from today. Patagonia was warm, humid, and filled with vast forests of conifers and flowering plants. Rivers cut across open floodplains, and herds of herbivores shared the land with large predators. In this environment, Argentinosaurus reached dimensions that pushed the upper boundaries of what terrestrial ecosystems could support. Estimates place Argentinosaurus at around 35 meters in length, though some reconstructions suggest it may have reached even longer. Its height at the shoulder is thought to have exceeded 7 meters, giving it a towering stance over much of its environment. But it was the weight that truly set it apart. Argentinosaurus may have reached a staggering 70 to 80 tons, making it one of the heaviest land animals ever known. This immense mass created significant ground pressure with each step, likely affecting soil compaction in areas where these animals congregated. It belongs to the Titanosauria, a diverse group of sauropods that dominated the Cretaceous. The skeleton of Argentinosaurus was built to support this bulk. Its vertebrae were among the largest ever discovered, some measuring more than 1.5 meters across. These massive bones formed the backbone of an animal designed for endurance rather than speed. The limbs were thick and straight, functioning like the pillars of a bridge, carrying the weight evenly across its frame. The hips and pelvis were broad and heavily reinforced, serving as the foundation for the body. Its long neck, while not as flexible as that of smaller sauropods, extended outward to allow access to vast amounts of vegetation. Every part of its structure spoke of strength and balance at an unprecedented scale. Living at such a size offered great protection. Adult Argentinosaurus had no natural predators capable of bringing them down. Even the large carnivores of South America, including Giganotosaurus, would have struggled to pose a serious threat to a healthy adult. Instead, predators likely focused on juveniles or weaker individuals. For the young, survival was precarious, with many lost before reaching the safety of adulthood. But those that did endure grew into animals so large they were virtually untouchable. The physical impact of Argentinosaurus on its environment was substantial. Adult individuals required extensive feeding ranges to meet their nutritional needs. Their feeding activity concentrated on accessible vegetation, altering forest structure, and plant distribution patterns. Where these animals fed regularly, tree density decreased and ground-level vegetation increased. Other herbivorous species adjusted their ranging behavior to reduce competition with Argentinosaurus, creating a cascade effect throughout the ecosystem. Its diet consisted of the abundant plants of Cretaceous Patagonia. With its long neck, Argentinosaurus could reach both high and low, sweeping through canopies and shrubs alike. Its teeth were small and peg-shaped, ideal for stripping leaves, but not for chewing. Food was swallowed whole, and digestion took place in its enormous gut, where fermentation broke down the tough plant fibers. To sustain its immense body, Argentinosaurus would have needed to eat constantly, consuming hundreds of kilograms of plant matter each day. This relentless feeding made it a keystone herbivore, essential to the balance of its ecosystem. The durability of their skeletons suggests that these giants were long-lived, with survival tied not to outrunning predators, but to enduring across generations. The discovery of Argentinosaurus was remarkable not only for its scale, but also for the rarity of its remains. In 1987, a farmer named Guillermo Heredia stumbled upon a massive fossilized bone on his land near Plaza Huincul in Neuquén Province, Argentina. At first, it was mistaken for petrified wood, but paleontologists José Bonaparte and Rodolfo Coria soon realized it was something far more extraordinary: the remains of a dinosaur unlike any seen before. Excavations revealed vertebrae and limb bones so large they challenged existing ideas of dinosaur size. Though the skeleton is incomplete, the pieces recovered are enough to establish Argentinosaurus as one of the most enormous dinosaurs ever found. Even today, debates continue about its exact size, but there is no doubt about its place among the heaviest land animals in history. Compared to other giant sauropods, Argentinosaurus seems to have been built for pure mass. Where some sauropods achieved great length through extended necks or tails, Argentinosaurus carried its size in bulk. Its body was deep and wide, its legs thick and powerful. This emphasis on mass gave it dimensions that exceeded most of its relatives. It was not only long, but also exceptionally heavy, pushing the limits of what land-based life could sustain. Movement for Argentinosaurus would have been slow but steady. Its strides covered ground efficiently, though not quickly. Moving slowly on four pillar-like legs, it probably lived in herds, both for protection and to manage the vast feeding grounds needed to sustain such giants. Multiple individuals traveling together would have had considerable impact on the landscape, creating pathways and affecting vegetation over large areas. Its maximum speed, according to computer models, may have been no more than 7 kilometers per hour. However, with each step spanning several meters, it could still cover significant distances over time. Despite its dominance, Argentinosaurus faced the same challenges as all living creatures. Environmental shifts, droughts, or shortages of food could threaten survival. Reproduction, though efficient in numbers through egg-laying, came with risks, as most hatchlings were lost to predation. Yet, the resilience of this species is evident in its fossil record, showing that it thrived for millions of years in a competitive and dangerous world. Argentinosaurus remains one of the clearest examples of extreme body size in terrestrial animals. It demonstrates how evolution can push size to extraordinary limits under favorable environmental conditions. Each bone provides evidence of an animal that survived not through speed or aggressive behavior, but through mass and endurance. Among the great dinosaurs of the Cretaceous, Argentinosaurus represents the upper boundary of sauropod gigantism, showing what was biologically possible during this period of Earth's history. In the pantheon of prehistoric giants around 77 million years ago, few names carry the same weight, literally and figuratively, as Dreadnoughtus shrani. This titanosaur from the late Cretaceous period was so massive that its discoverers named it after the early 20th century battleships called Dreadnoughts, which were designed to fear nothing. With one of the most complete skeletons of any giant sauropod, Dreadnoughtus has become a cornerstone in the study of dinosaur gigantism. Unlike many other giant sauropods known from scattered bones, Dreadnoughtus is remarkable for the quality of its fossil record. When its remains were uncovered in 2005, they included over 115 bones, representing 70% of the skeleton behind the skull, a rarity for creatures of such scale. This completeness gave scientists one of the clearest views yet of how a dinosaur of this size was built and how it might have lived. The bones were so massive that it took 4 austral summers from 2005 to 2009 to fully excavate. Mules, ropes, and heavy machinery were required to transport the fossils. As you can imagine, it's very hard to determine how much a dinosaur would have weighed when it was alive, especially for a dinosaur as large as Dreadnoughtus. Although multiple methods for calculating the weight of an extinct animal have been proposed, one of the most commonly employed techniques is volumetric mass estimation. Paleontologists using this method work with typically incomplete skeletons to first estimate how much of each type of tissue, like muscle or fat, covered the skeleton. Afterward, they calculate how much each tissue type, including bone, weighed. It's a difficult, somewhat speculative process that can result in different researchers producing wildly different estimates for the same animal's weight. Estimates for Dreadnoughtus have been anywhere between 22.1 and 59.3 metric tons, but the most recent estimate was 49 metric tons. For comparison, a typical school bus weighs around 11.3 metric tons. Clearly, no matter how you estimate it, Dreadnoughtus was a massive animal. Its structure emphasized bulk and strength, making it one of the most robust sauropods known from the fossil record. The skeleton reveals a creature designed for stability. Its hips were immense, broader and stronger than many of its relatives, supporting a body that was deep and wide. The limb bones were enormous, particularly the humerus and femur, which show the load-bearing capacity of its frame. The tail was long and muscular, likely acting as a counterbalance to the heavy body. Unlike some of the more elongated sauropods, Dreadnoughtus carried much of its mass close to its core, giving it a solid and compact body plan. For a full-grown adult, predators would have been no danger. The large theropods of South America, such as abelisaurids, were formidable hunters, but they would not have been able to overcome a creature of this magnitude. The only chances predators had to taste this sauropod were to hunt it when it was a small juvenile, or to scavenge it when it was dead or dying. That seems to be what happened too, because teeth of carnivorous dinosaurs were found scattered around the fossils. An adult Dreadnoughtus, standing tall with its neck extended, would have been virtually untouchable due to the physical impossibility of bringing down an animal of such dimensions. The size of adult Dreadnoughtus had significant ecological implications. Once individuals reached full size, they occupied a protected niche in their ecosystem with virtually no predation pressure. This allowed them to focus energy on feeding and reproduction rather than defensive behaviors. The fossil evidence suggests these animals continued growing throughout much of their lives, indicating that food resources were sufficient to support this sustained growth pattern. Life for Dreadnoughtus would have been defined by its insatiable need for food. As a herbivore, it likely consumed vast quantities of vegetation each day, stripping leaves from conifers, cycads, and ferns that dominated the floodplains of Cretaceous Patagonia. Its long neck allowed it to feed across a wide vertical range, from ground-level plants to the tops of trees, without needing to move its enormous body frequently. This feeding strategy was not only efficient, but also essential for sustaining such a massive frame. Its tail, long and muscular, may have served as a defensive weapon, capable of delivering whip-like strikes against predators. The lifespan of Dreadnoughtus, like other sauropods, was likely long. It may have lived for 70 years or more, with growth extending across many decades. Bone evidence suggests that even the largest known specimen had not yet reached full maturity, meaning these animals may have continued to grow slowly throughout much of their lives. This long period of growth ensured that, once they reached adult size, they enjoyed many years of relative safety and dominance. Compared to other sauropods, Dreadnoughtus stands out for its mass-centered design. Where some giants achieved size through length, this animal built its dimensions through bulk. Its torso was broad and barrel-shaped, its hips expanded, and its limbs thick beyond comparison. This emphasis on weight created a body plan optimized for stability rather than mobility, reflecting an evolutionary strategy centered on achieving maximum mass. Movement for Dreadnoughtus would have been deliberate. With a steady pace, it could move across floodplains in search of food, and if it traveled in groups, multiple individuals would have had substantial impact on their environment. Their combined feeding activity would have reshaped vegetation patterns, with accessible plants consumed systematically as they moved through areas. Reproduction, as with other sauropods, would have involved laying clutches of eggs in nesting grounds. The young were small and vulnerable, relying on rapid growth and, perhaps, the protection of herds to survive. Most would not reach adulthood, but those that did grew into the largest and safest forms of life in their world. Despite its size, Dreadnoughtus was not immune to the challenges of survival. Yet its very existence proves that ecosystems of the late Cretaceous could sustain giants of remarkable scale. The balance between vegetation, climate, and animal life created a world where such creatures could thrive. Dreadnoughtus remains one of the most important discoveries in the study of dinosaur gigantism. Its fossils provide a clear window into the anatomy, lifestyle, and adaptations of a true giant. It shows us that size alone could be a survival strategy, one that removed the need for speed or aggression. By simply existing at such a scale, it became untouchable. In the study of Earth's largest animals, Dreadnoughtus holds a special place. It represents exceptional skeletal preservation that allows detailed anatomical analysis rarely possible for sauropods of this size. Standing as one of the heaviest land animals ever known, it provides crucial data for understanding the biological limits of terrestrial gigantism. The completeness of its remains makes it a reference specimen for comparative studies of sauropod anatomy and biomechanics. In the early Cretaceous landscapes of North America, long before flowering plants had fully taken over the world, a giant walked the floodplains and coastal forests. Its name was Sauroposeidon, a dinosaur so immense that its very presence must have shaken the ground beneath it. The name, meaning lizard earthquake god, was inspired by Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea and earthquakes. A fitting title for one of the tallest dinosaurs ever discovered. Living around 110 million years ago, in what is now the southern United States, it occupied coastal plains, river valleys, and regions with lush vegetation. Sauroposeidon lived at a time when the region was covered with coastal plains, river valleys, and lush vegetation. The climate was warm, and rising seas created environments filled with conifers, palms, and flowering plants. In this setting, Sauroposeidon became one of the tallest animals to ever walk the Earth. Fossil evidence suggests that Sauroposeidon reached a length of about 34 meters, or 112 feet. But its most striking feature was its height. Standing upright, it could raise its head to nearly 18 meters above the ground, making it the tallest known sauropod. This height is equivalent to approximately 5 stories, representing the maximum vertical reach achieved by any known dinosaur. Its estimated weight, between 50 and 60 metric tons, placed it firmly among the heaviest of land animals, though it was built more for height than for bulk. The vertebrae of Sauroposeidon tell the story of its unique structure. When they were first discovered in Oklahoma in 1994, the bones were so large that they were initially mistaken for tree trunks. Each neck vertebra measured over a meter in length, with air sacs reducing their weight while preserving strength. These adaptations allowed Sauroposeidon to extend its neck to extraordinary lengths without collapsing under its own mass. The design was both efficient and specialized, giving it access to food sources unreachable for most other herbivores. Living at such heights provided distinct advantages. While smaller dinosaurs competed for vegetation near the ground, Sauroposeidon could browse the tallest conifers and trees. Its long neck gave it a feeding zone that few other animals could reach, reducing competition and ensuring a steady supply of food. This specialization, however, also required adaptations in circulation. To pump blood to a head raised so high above the heart would have demanded a powerful cardiovascular system. Though the exact mechanisms remain uncertain, Sauroposeidon's heart was likely among the most powerful of any land animal. As with other giants, predators were not a serious threat to adult Sauroposeidon. Large theropods lived alongside it, but none could realistically challenge a fully grown individual. Even the formidable theropod Argentinosaurus, one of the apex predators of the region, would have thought twice before challenging a full-grown Sauroposeidon. The ecological impact of Sauroposeidon was concentrated in the upper canopy layer. By feeding at such heights, it shaped the growth of forests, pruning the tallest trees and influencing plant communities. Its diet likely included conifer needles, palm fronds, and the leaves of early flowering plants. Its teeth, long and narrow, were well suited for stripping foliage. Food was swallowed quickly, and its enormous gut would have done the work of breaking down plant fibers over time. To sustain its size, Sauroposeidon would have consumed hundreds of kilograms of vegetation every day. The discovery of Sauroposeidon was a landmark moment in paleontology. The fossilized vertebrae were first uncovered in Atoka County, Oklahoma, and later additional material was found in Texas. These remains revealed an animal that pushed the boundaries of neck length and height further than any other known dinosaur. Unlike some of the fragmentary giants known only from a few bones, Sauroposeidon's fossils gave scientists a clearer understanding of just how extreme sauropod anatomy could become. Compared to its South American relatives, Sauroposeidon was built with a slightly different emphasis. Where dinosaurs such as Argentinosaurus and Dreadnoughtus carried massive, broad bodies, Sauroposeidon was more elongated. Its torso was lighter in construction, its limbs tall and straight, and its neck extraordinarily extended. These features made it a specialist in vertical feeding, a niche that other sauropods of its time could not fill. Movement for Sauroposeidon would have been slow but steady, much like its relatives. Its long legs gave it a stride that covered ground efficiently, though speed was never part of its survival strategy. It likely lived in herds or groups, both for the protection of the young and for social behavior. Multiple individuals traveling together would have created significant impact on upper canopy vegetation, systematically browsing tall trees across their ranging areas. Beyond its scientific importance, Sauroposeidon has captured the imagination of the public. Its immense size and evocative name make it a favorite in museums and documentaries. In 2009, it was declared the official state dinosaur of Texas, cementing its place not only in paleontology, but also in cultural heritage. Reconstructions of the animal often show it striding across ancient floodplains, its head swaying high above the canopy, a living monument to the power of evolution. What makes Sauroposeidon especially fascinating is not just its size, but its timing. It represents the last gasp of giant sauropods in North America before their mysterious disappearance from the fossil record. For tens of millions of years afterward, sauropods were absent from the continent, only to return with the arrival of Alamosaurus in the late Cretaceous. In this sense, Sauroposeidon stands as both a pinnacle and an ending, a towering reminder of a lineage that once ruled the land, and a symbol of the ever-shifting story of life on Earth. In the remote expanses of southern Patagonia, one of the rarest but most impressive discoveries of dinosaur fossils was made. The remains belong to Puertasaurus rewili, a sauropod so massive that even the few bones uncovered were enough to prove it stood among the largest land animals in history. Though its skeleton is known from only a handful of vertebrae, its scale reveals an animal of extraordinary proportions, one that pushed the limits of size and endurance in the late Cretaceous world. Puertasaurus lived around 70 million years ago, at the end of the age of dinosaurs. Though known from only a handful of bones, Puertasaurus has earned a place among the pantheon of dinosaurian giants, standing alongside Argentinosaurus, Patagotitan, and Dreadnoughtus as contenders for the title of largest land animal in history. The fossils that define this species are enormous. The dorsal vertebrae discovered measure over 1.6 meters in width, among the widest ever recorded. These bones, forming part of the backbone, suggest a body of vast depth and strength. Estimates place Puertasaurus at around 30 meters in length and a weight exceeding 70 metric tons. Some calculations even suggest greater numbers, but even the conservative figures place it among the heaviest and most powerful animals of all time. What makes Puertasaurus stand out is the construction of its body. Unlike the more elongated sauropods, which stretched their size primarily through length, Puertasaurus appears to have carried much of its scale in bulk. Its torso would have been wide and massive, supported by limbs built like immense columns. This design emphasized stability, allowing it to sustain its vast mass as it moved slowly across the floodplains. The neck vertebrae recovered show that it possessed a long, powerful neck, though perhaps not as extended as some of its relatives. This balance of neck length and body bulk gave it a robust and imposing profile. It belonged to the group Logoncosauria, a lineage of titanosaurs characterized by their wide chests and massive builds. Its close relatives include Phytologoncosaurus and Mendozasaurus, both of which also displayed broad rib cages and immense size. These dinosaurs represent an evolutionary experiment in gigantism, pushing the boundaries of what was biomechanically possible for land-dwelling animals. The environment in which Puertasaurus lived was a humid, forested landscape along ancient river systems. Fossilized tree trunks and plant remains found near the discovery site suggest that this giant shared its habitat with lush conifer forests and cycads. Here, Puertasaurus would have towered above the canopy, using its long neck to strip leaves from treetops inaccessible to smaller herbivores. Its sheer size would have made it virtually immune to predation, though juveniles may have been vulnerable to large theropods such as Orcoraptor and large abelisaurids, a predator known from the same region. The lifespan of Puertasaurus, though not directly measurable, was likely long, similar to other giant sauropods. Individuals may have lived for 70 to 100 years, growing steadily through much of their lives. Juveniles experienced rapid growth, adding mass at extraordinary rates to escape the vulnerable years. Once adulthood was reached, size became its ultimate defense, allowing decades of dominance in the ecosystem. The discovery of Puertasaurus in 2001 was a landmark in paleontology. The fossils were found in Santa Cruz Province, Argentina, by an expedition led by Pablo Puerta, from whom the dinosaur takes its name. Though the remains include only 4 vertebrae, their size was so extreme that they provided clear evidence of a sauropod among the largest ever known. Each bone was preserved with remarkable detail, allowing precise measurements and comparisons. Despite the limited material, the scale of Puertasaurus is well documented through these vertebral measurements and comparative analysis with related species. Compared with other giants, Puertasaurus is notable for its proportions. Where Sauroposeidon emphasized height and Argentinosaurus sheer length, Puertasaurus appears to have balanced size through immense bulk. Its wide torso suggests a body broader and heavier than many of its relatives, an adaptation that may have influenced its feeding strategy and movement. This emphasis on mass rather than height alone makes it unique among the titans of its time. What makes Puertasaurus especially fascinating is the paradox it presents. It is both one of the largest dinosaurs ever found and one of the least understood. As discussed, with only 4 bones to study, paleontologists must rely heavily on comparisons with better-known titanosaurs to reconstruct its appearance and lifestyle. This uncertainty has fueled debate about whether Puertasaurus truly rivaled or even surpassed Argentinosaurus and Patagotitan in size. While definitive answers remain elusive, the sheer scale of its preserved vertebrae leaves little doubt that it was among the most massive creatures ever to walk the Earth. Today, Puertasaurus stands as a reminder of both the grandeur and the mystery of the fossil record. It highlights how even a few bones can open a window into a lost world of giants, and how much remains to be discovered beneath the soils of Patagonia. In the end, Puertasaurus reweli is less a complete portrait than a shadow cast by a giant. Yet even in shadow, its scale inspires awe. It represents the extremes of life on land, a creature whose rib cage could have housed a classroom, whose vertebrae dwarf those of nearly every other dinosaur, and whose presence in the Cretaceous forests of Patagonia must have been nothing short of earth-shaking. These 5 sauropods represent different approaches to extreme size. Patagotitan Mayorum and Argentinosaurus achieved massive bulk and length, with weight estimates reaching 70 to 80 metric tons. Dreadnoughtus is notable for exceptional skeletal preservation, providing detailed anatomical data rarely available for animals of this scale. Sauroposeidon specialized in vertical height, reaching nearly 18 meters at full neck extension. Puertasaurus, though known from limited material, possessed some of the widest vertebrae ever measured, indicating exceptional body mass. These species share common adaptations that enabled their size. Pneumatic bone structures reduced skeletal weight while maintaining strength. Columnar limb positioning distributed mass efficiently. Elongated necks provided access to extensive feeding zones without constant movement. Fermentation-based digestive systems processed large volumes of low-quality plant material. These features allowed sauropods to dominate terrestrial ecosystems for over 100 million years. New discoveries regularly refine our understanding, sometimes confirming previous estimates and sometimes requiring significant revisions. What the evidence demonstrates clearly is that these animals represent the upper limits of terrestrial vertebrate size. They achieved dimensions that have never been matched by any land animal before or since. Their success was not based on speed, weaponry, or complex behavior, but on reaching scales that provided protection through mass alone. This strategy proved effective for tens of millions of years across multiple continents and climate conditions. Current research focuses on several key areas. Bone histology studies examine growth patterns and age estimates. Biomechanical analyses test the physical limits of their skeletal structures. Paleo-environmental reconstructions determine what conditions allowed such gigantism. Comparative studies with modern large herbivores provide insights into their ecological roles. Each new fossil discovery and analytical technique adds data to our understanding of how these animals functioned. They lived during the Cretaceous period, between 110 and 66 million years ago. They were among the last giant sauropods before the mass extinction event that ended the Mesozoic Era. Their fossils, preserved primarily in South American and North American rock formations, continue to provide crucial evidence about the biological limits of life on land. These remains document what evolution achieved under optimal conditions. Animals that redefined the scale of terrestrial existence and demonstrated that extreme gigantism was not only possible, but sustainable over geological timescales. Though their reign ended millions of years ago, their legacy lives on in the rocks beneath our feet and the stories we continue to uncover. In studying the largest dinosaurs that ever roamed our planet, we don't just look back. We deepen our understanding of nature's potential and the ever-changing tapestry of life.